In episode 16 of I Know a Guy, I chop it up with Gastonia starting pitcher Gunnar Kines. From the basement to the mound, find out all about big gamer Gunnar. Our guest today is from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, attended the University of Mount Olive here in North Carolina, drafted by the Miami Marlins in 2015, currently a starting pitcher for Gastonia. I know a guy, and his name is Gunnar Kines. Gunnar, how's it going?
Oh, good. Nice to finally be on here.
Nice to have you on. So, Gunnar, you're from South Carolina, went to school here in North Carolina. You're very used to the area. How has it been pitching in this area for really a long time?
Oh, it's nice. It's the closest indie ball team close to home, so that's another perk of being able to play in Gastonia.
You played in Australia and Mexico in addition to playing here in South and North Carolina. What have those experiences been like for you?
Oh, it's a lot different. A lot different fan interaction and living situations, but it's been a good life experience.
You're a starting pitcher. What is your routine like on start days?
Usually I eat the same breakfast every morning and kind of just go about the same, get to the field at the certain time and do the certain things and go out at the certain time every day. So
what's that breakfast?
Superstitious.
What's the breakfast you eat?
Usually just eggs and bacon every morning. It's pretty basic, but
you say you're very superstitious. What does that mean in terms of, do you make sure you walk the same way, go to the bathroom at the same time every day kind of thing? How superstitious are you?
I usually watch like just YouTube videos at certain times of the day, like start moving around certain times and then go out on the field at certain times and like start throwing like 30 minutes before game time every time.
Is there anything you do to make sure you're not overusing your arm? Of course, there are plenty of pitching injuries these days, especially Major League Baseball, when you look at how many Tommy John surgeries there are per year, especially past couple of years. Anything you do to make sure you're not overusing it?
Outside of not throwing the day after, usually on start day I try to throw as much as possible because I've learned that it takes me longer to get my arm loose than other pitchers, so that's why I'm usually out there so early.
Gunnar, your pitch mix, you use a lot of changeups. Changeup is the pitch you use the most, a lot of four-seamers, and then also slider, sinker, splitter, curve. You have 6 pitches. Your fastball averages around 87 miles per hour. Your change averages 78, anywhere from 70 to 85. How do you usually incorporate the changeup? Do you usually start hitters off with it, or is it really fastball and then change?
Usually just based on lineup, and if usually it's if I'm facing High Point, then I have to change things up because I face those guys a billion times. But usually I try to incorporate on who the hitter is before like what I throw.
So your entire career, is that really how it's been? The more hitters you face, how often you face them, you just have to keep changing things up, literally?
Yes. Guys like Quincy Lattimore, I faced hundreds of times, it seems like. So he knows exactly kind of what I'm trying to do when I'm on the mound.
Now, Gunnar, your fastball, like I said, averages around 87 miles per hour. You're very much a strikeout pitcher, 110 strikeouts with Gastonia last season. How are you able to acquire so many strikeouts while not throwing traditionally hard?
Try to just mix up the elevation of the ball, try to go from high to low and back to high again. Because I don't have the velo that other pitchers do, so I have to change just the strategy up on not just trying to blow it past guys.
Now, Gunnar, both this year and last year, you have reverse splits when it comes to batting average for lefties and righties. Last year, lefties hit 260 off you, righties hit 226. And this year, righties are hitting 286 off you. Lefties hitting 8 for 20. That's 400, but of course, very small sample size. Why do you think that is that you have those reverse splits?
It's for some reason it's always been that way, but I think it's just because I don't throw enough pitches that kind of go away from lefties. Everything from a fastball to changeup usually tries to go in, and so it maybe runs into their bat more than just sticking away from them.
How's the mentality when you're on the mound? When there's a lefty coming to the plate, do you think to yourself, okay, I should have the upper hand here?
I try to think that. I usually like when righties are at the plate, but I've been just trying to switch on where I'm standing at onto the mound, like every at-bat, so that way it's a different outlook on what they're seeing at the plate.
Now, Gunnar, you were saying earlier on that this is the closest place in indie ball. South Carolina, North Carolina, Gastonia, really the closest place. You've been in independent ball since 2016. What is the main difference between the Frontier League, which was where you started, and the Atlantic League, which is where you are right now?
Definitely the experience. I heard Flores say that last time he was on here. So definitely the experience between the two, just being able to them play longer and have a different, like more different hitting approach at the plate. Like they're more experienced, they don't swing at the bad pitches as often, and they do hit the bad pitches more often here.
Gunnar, you must love pitching in big games. Game 3 in 2022, you went 6 innings pitched, allowed 2 runs, got the win. Gastonia went up 2-1 in that series, ultimately fell to High Point. Last year, pitched in Game 5. That's the biggest win in Gastonia's franchise history. Of course, going to their first ALPB championship appearance in franchise history, so you're responsible for that. What is it about these big games that you thrive in?
Usually I try to just stay calm and collect. It's I don't think one game is more than the other, even though it actually is. But usually I try to just take one inning at a time in all my outings, regardless. So whenever it does come time for the big game, then I'm not like overthinking it or stressing out too much over it.
I remember last year I was talking to Goose about this. He talked nonstop about your competitiveness. He said Gunnar is all smiles. Of course, as you guys can see watching the podcast episode right now, all you do is smile. But once you get on that mound, you are competitive. You're more competitive than anybody. What do you have to say about that in terms of what Goose said last year, and how true is that?
Oh, that's definitely true. When I'm not on the mound, I'm a completely different person than when I'm stepping on the mound and trying to get the win for the team. When I'm off the mound, it's all just trying to be funny, try to be relaxing for the other guys. So if they're stressed out, then maybe they won't be as worried about what they're doing in the game.
Last year, you came back to Gastonia during the season. You were a spectacular 12-4, 3.33 ERA. I mentioned 110 strikeouts and just 30 walks in 22 appearances. Started as a reliever, made your way into being a starter. You really took upon that ace role last year with Gastonia, especially because a lot of pitchers left early on in the season. Is that something you expected when coming back here?
I knew they had some guys back here, so I mostly just tried to come back and mix straight in. But eventually, once I get myself going on the mound, then I feel like I'll be able to get back to that role. And once I get my pitch count back up and just the feel for the game, because over in Mexico, I didn't have too many innings, so it was hard to get into a rhythm for the season.
I know last year you said your plan was to start as a reliever, make a few appearances out of the pen, work your way to a starter. I think you said around early June, and then it ended up being around early June that you made your first start. So is it a goal that you accomplished sticking to that plan you had?
This year it kind of just went into it, not being as built up coming back here. But luckily they don't have the 5-inning rule anymore where the starter has to go 5 for the DH to stay in. So that actually helps me out when being able to start games rather than having to be out of the bullpen, which I'm not too used to.
Now the 2024 Olympics just came to an end. USA basketball winning in men's and women's. I'm especially happy about that. But we have a segment for the Olympics coming to a conclusion. I'm going to pick 3 events, 3 random events that I'm choosing. I want to know if you're placing in all of them, if you're medaling in all of them, gold, silver, and bronze. Which would you be best in, which would you be medium in, and which would you be the worst in?
Oh, man.
All right, so 3 events. Ready? Canoe sprint, diving, fencing.
Oh, man. The canoeing, I feel like I got solid upper body, so maybe not medaling because I'm not the most athletic guy.
Okay.
But I feel like I'd have the best chance on that one.
Okay,
And
so
then,
gold. So canoe sprint is gold.
Ooh, hopefully. Maybe.
Okay, hopefully.
That's what we'll aim for. And then you said diving?
Diving.
Yeah, diving, I mean, I've been around water for a while, so I feel like it would kind of come to me more often. But like I said, I'm not the most athletic, so I was watching them do all their dives, and they were flipping all over the place. So I think I definitely need some training for that before I medal.
Okay, and then fencing.
Fencing, I feel like I got pretty long arms, so I feel like I'd have a good step on that. And I feel like you don't have to be as athletic with fencing because you don't have to use too much full body athleticism for that.
Do you have a final ranking?
Oh, man.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I know. I was hope fencing would probably be my favorite, so I'd go with I'd say silver with that because there's people that's been doing that forever, and there's just no way I can catch up to them.
So diving, you're going to get bronze in.
Yeah, I'll take bronze
All right,
with
so
that.
canoe sprint, fencing, diving is the order.
Oh, yes.
Good to know. What's an event that you would like to add to the Olympics? If you could choose any, whether it's a hidden talent of yours, any activity that's not currently in the Olympics, what would you choose to include?
I would actually pick esports. I think with how the world is technology-wise today, the esports scene has grown a lot, And I actually think it might be in the next LA Olympics. They might be putting that into the Olympics, actually. And so esports, it's a lot of time and effort they put in. I got some friends that actually have played esports like professionally before, so it's they put in 10 plus hours a day. Even though it's not physical activity, they're still having to like mentally prepare themselves to play in the games.
I'm not a gamer at all. I actually did cover esports once in Atlantic City a couple of years ago. But for those who are listening or watching who don't know, explain what esports is.
It's professional gaming. It's like any main brand game. They usually have like organizations like any other sport. So they like hire their players and they make teams, as in like any baseball, football, basketball. And so it's like the same thing, but with video games.
All right, we got to get esports in the Olympics.
Exactly.
We got to make it happen, Gunnar. It's fantasy season. You knew I had to bring this up. Fantasy football season is coming. Every time I go into the clubhouse, all you do is pull me aside and talk fantasy, which I love. Last year, this year. And last season, we made a trade, a 5-for-3 trade. I ended up regretting it big time. I want to see.
Man.
I want to see if you can guess it, player for player, the 5-for-3 trade.
Oh wow! Let's see. I know I gave you Mostert.
Yep.
Because I regretted that all season because he just kept playing so well. Hollywood Brown. Sadly, I like him, but he just never performs. Who else? Golly.
So Mostert and Hollywood Brown, 2 of the 5 players that you gave
There's
me.
so many people. Everyone hated the trade that
Yeah.
we made. Let's see. Who else? I know it was like another wide receiver.
Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, Jared Judy. Another guy that had all the hype around him, and he just never did anything. And then
There were 2 quarterbacks. Remember the 2 quarterbacks?
2 quarterbacks. I actually forgot the quarterbacks. It was...
You gave me Tua.
Oh, the Tua
And I gave you Josh
combination.
Allen.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Because Tua was thriving in the beginning of the season, and then, of course, Josh Allen ends up being by far the best quarterback in fantasy, because why not? And I gave him away.
Yeah.
So you also gave me Najee Harris.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
It was just a bunch of these role players who didn't amount to anything. No
Yeah,
offense to them.
they were in the positions. They just did not perform.
And then
The whole trade, we ended up, I think, trading a bunch of other players, too, after that. But
you wanted to do like a 6-7 team trade.
yeah,
I'm on the entire
one
league.
for the ages. Brady's always for it, so.
He's a good commissioner. I'm glad that we're running it back.
Oh, yeah.
So in the end, it was Mostert, Tua, Hollywood Brown, Jerry Jeudy, and Najee Harris for Josh Allen, Ramondre Stevenson, and Mike Williams.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember Williams went down, I think, 1 week after I got him, and then Stevenson was just Stevenson the whole season.
I traded Williams in a couple leagues.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
got lucky from that.
Our whole trade was just riddled of injury-prone, like underperforming players.
Yep, it really was. Something cool about you, you're an ex-fantasy, Daily Fantasy Sports, DFS, analyst. And you said on your LinkedIn, calculating specific numbers and numerous other values have always been a talent of mine. So when did you start getting into that?
Oh, it was somewhere in college. I'd say probably before college, because I was playing fantasy sports with my best friends from back home since like end of middle school, high school, and then whenever I had to take a semester off from college to make up classes to transfer into Mount Olive from my JUCO, then I actually picked up the job. I actually got in contact with somebody and ended up being able to get that job. So this is a good combination of doing fantasy sports, which I liked all the time, and then just learning more stuff about every sport that you could do.
What is it about DFS and fantasy in general that is so interesting to you?
It's all the numbers, honestly. It's seeing all the numbers and putting them together and kind of calculating a team. It's like being like Brady pretty much, like exactly what he does, but just like in a fantasy based.
I think I told him before the season, I was like, Brady, if you don't do well in this league, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah, that's his job, all right? He's so good at it, too.
He is. How many leagues are you in this year?
1 right now. I try to get in 2, but usually I try to do 1 and get a draft in and then join another and then have another mindset for it, so I'm not like taking the same players.
Are you the commissioner in the other league or leagues you've been in the past?
Usually I've just been in other leagues. It's being commissioner, you always get a billion messages. I'm sure Brady did too. But
Gunnar, we have a segment on this podcast called Cool Connections. we've done it. You said you listened to the Mark Flores episodes. You may have seen or heard that. But it's any player that you've made a cool connection with that may be a household name throughout the years, whether it's playing in Australia and Mexico, throughout your years with the Marlins and Mets organizations, really throughout your professional career.
Yeah. I was listening to Flores, and he named a bunch. We played against a lot of the same people because it's the same league. But in Australia, I got to be teammates with Junior Campanero. He's #1 prospect right now. He was like 100-something prospect when he played for us, and he jumped all the way up to like top 10 in one season. And then Josh Reddick, got to play with him on his last professional baseball season, so just got a ton of knowledge from him, like being able to play all those years in a World Series champ. And let's see, other baseball players. I'm trying to think.
You told me you made a list.
I know.
You told me
if I could pull it up,
go ahead. You can check your phone
for you right now. Actually,
you did your homework. You came prepared.
Oh, yes.
Show it off.
Peter Moreland would be the other one. He was my pitching coach in Melbourne, and he's actually the pregame like anchor guy from Fox Sports for the Atlanta Braves. So everything before the game, he's on the desk, like asking the questions, talking about the Braves. And I'm a little bit different because I try to venture out of baseball a lot. So Hunter Renfroe, we went to the same high school together. So he's like the big name NFL guy that's came out of my area.
I was going to ask you which one, the baseball or football one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, hopefully he gets a job soon.
Yeah.
And then crazy story, Kalia Davis, he's a defensive tackle for the 49ers. And we actually met playing League of Legends, the video game. So he actually plays League of Legends too, and we actually met that way. This was when he was in college. But he ended up actually getting drafted like 4th or 5th round one year. So
he would definitely be in favor of esports being in the Olympics.
Oh, yes, him definitely. Another one, Howard Bender, he's actually my boss at my fantasy website that I work for, but he actually now has his own segment on ESPN Radio on Sirius XM talking about, he has like a 30-minute segment each day talking about fantasy sports. And another one, I figured I ended on this one, but his name's Azale. He's a League of Legends commentator. So you and him have a lot in common.
Yeah.
I figured I put him as the last one because it relates so much towards what you do. But he actually is a League of Legends commentator in North America. So he has a pretty good following, but he's like the one of the main voices for what you hear over the broadcast. Must
be really cool not just making the connections, but turning on the TV and turning on the radio and just hearing and seeing all these connections you've made, right?
Oh, yes. I try to venture out of just baseball. So
yeah, you got baseball, nice, you got commentators, you got football, you got all kinds.
Oh, yes.
Very, very cool. If you could make one rule change in baseball, what would it be?
Ooh. I know the hitters will hate this one, but I think there should be a limited amount of home runs you could hit, kind of like in men's softball. Like if you hit more than, say, 3 home runs or 2 home runs in a game, then it gets called an automatic out, like it does in men's softball. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a pitcher, but
and because you play at Caramount Health Park,
exactly,
with a 304-foot.
Our hitters would hate it, but I would go with that one.
Especially this team that's hit over 160 homers.
Exactly, they definitely hate me for that.
Well, if they listen like you did to other episodes, then they might have something to say in the clubhouse.
Oh, yes. I think I'm in trouble now.
Gastonia having a tremendous year. How has it been joining this? Of course, you were with the team the end of 2022, all of last year. How has it been coming in roughly halfway through the season and seeing all the success just continuing for the past couple of years?
Oh, yes. I mean, I thought our team was good the last few years coming in 22. They were like 40 games over 500 or something around there at that point. And then they were a really good team. And then last year we had a really good team. But this year, I mean, 1 through 9 at the plate, like everyone's a threat. Everyone's seems like they're close to hitting 300 with a bunch of power and stolen bases. So it's nice to be around. I know if you're hitting good, everyone's always happy, but they're really nice people in the clubhouse as well.
Team is testing out potential nicknames for 2025 and beyond as part of What If homestands. Homestand number 5 is coming up this coming weekend. The team is the Gastonia Zombies. Do you have a favorite so far that you've heard?
I like the Galactic Dinos. Maybe I'm just a sucker for Baby Blue because it's a Carolina thing, but I like the names like so different. Like you can't think of any other team that's named that. And then the Baby Blue jerseys. I like the Baby Blue.
Those are my favorite too.
Oh,
Those are my favorite too. The
great minds
jerseys.
think alike, right?
Yeah, no, the jerseys, the blue and the pink, the logo of the dinosaur hitting in space.
Oh yeah, it's so unique. So it's a
very
lot
cool.
different than normal like other teams that they have.
I agree. Yeah, that's my number one also. Gunnar, what's the goal for you while you're here?
Definitely win a championship. I know coming one game away last year, it left a sour taste in everyone's mouth, from the coaching staff down to the players that came back. And so definitely winning a championship this year.
Well, you are a big game pitcher. You have been the past couple of years, and I have no doubt that you will be going forward. Gunnar, best of luck the rest of the way. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, and I'd love to have you back anytime.
Oh, thank you for having me.